I never thought I'd be making this video. If you'd have told me 2 years ago I'd be making this video, I would have been like, what the frickin' frick happened to you? Well, I'm about to tell you. Hi, my name is Ray Lars. Welcome back to my channel. And I know normally this channel is dedicated to queer stuff, but I felt that it was important to illuminate some of my journey on this because I can see it so clearly from both sides. I was entirely convinced that this, being vegan, was best for the planet, for animals, and for myself. And throughout this video, I'm going to share my experience, my journey, what led me to become vegan, and what led me to stop being vegan. And I just want to preface this by saying that I feel like it's so important for everyone to make the decision that they feel is best for them. No one is in control of your body but yourself, or no one should be in control of your body but yourself. This is your decision to make. I'm simply sharing my experience, my insights, and how this topic has affected my life personally. And I do not want to offend anybody. That is not the point. Simply sharing my perspective and what's true for me. Find what's true for you. Alright, so I'm gonna start with the backstory, the history, how I began to be vegan. So, 2017, around June. It's kind of interesting that it began this way, but it was kind of two things in conjunction, okay? I have an older brother named Dave. I look up to him a lot, and he had recently become vegan. He'd been vegan for about 2 weeks, and he told me how light he felt, how energetic, how much more clean and just better he felt in general from being vegan. And because of that, and also because of my friend, one day, my best friend and I were just walking down the streets of Manhattan, talking about animals. And she mentioned, she was like, or why do I think that my life is more important than, say, a pig's life? And I, in that moment, hadn't thought about it in that way before. And I was going through a lot of revelations spiritually. And so for me, at that point in time, that thought hit me on a deeper level. And I started to really question that idea more than I had ever in the past, you know, because I had been a meat eater my whole life. And I still was at this point. But I thought, like, you know, there may be something to that. Like, why is my life more important than an animal's? Or why do I think that I can have dominion over them? And I didn't really know what meat industry was like at that point. But because of these new thoughts, I decided to do some research. Naturally, this research led me to watch some documentaries, such as Forks Over Knives, Cowspiracy, and other such films, which depict the horrors of the meat industry and the dairy industry. And also statistics done from studies on heart disease and cancer and how meat and dairy products can cause these things, or not necessarily cause, but increase your risk of these diseases or illnesses. And if you've seen any of these documentaries, you know how convincing they are. And I'm not saying they're not true. Obviously the evidence is there to point out some of these things, but I don't think it's the full truth of the story. And now, recognizing it from this point of view, I do understand that those documentaries are a bit biased. They don't necessarily reveal both sides. It's kind of centrally focused on the deprecating effects of the meat industry and how that affects animals in particular. And believe me, it's horrible, it's atrocious. And because of this, went vegan immediately. Cold turkey. Went vegan. Went to the store, got a bunch of quinoa and salad, and because I was new to this, and started my new life as a vegan. You know, it started out great. Like, I actually like slimmed down a bit. I didn't have the excess fat that I had before, and I found my natural optimal body weight through that experience. And it wasn't about weight though for me. Like I mainly went vegan for the animals, but because of these documentaries, I also was understanding that, oh, this is actually better for my health too. And the environment, like climate change is fucking real. And I'm not gonna go into all the statistics in this video, okay? If you wanna see more, I'm gonna leave some resources down below so you can make your own decision on all of this. Like for me at the time, it was just a no fucking brainer. I was like, I can't believe I didn't realize this before. And you know, I felt great. Like I did have more energy for the first few weeks, and then I actually was vegan for 2 months, and then I went to being vegetarian. And I was vegetarian for like a year and a half. So keep in mind that I didn't eat meat, eggs, dairy products, any animal products whatsoever for those 2 months. But then I reintroduced some dairy and back into my diet. But a couple months later, within my body, I don't know, I think it was because of what I was going through emotionally in my life and not my diet that was making me feel this way. But I started to feel really gross and disgusting. So I just thought that I should be vegan again. Because, you know, I'd been vegan, felt great, went back to being vegetarian, didn't feel so great. And in my mind, I had linked the two together. About a year and a half later, I decided, you know what, I need to be vegan again. Like, I had reintroduced myself to the practices, the ideas behind being vegan. I was like, this is what's best for me. Let me let you know that I was never the type of vegan to be like, this is the only diet for everyone. You must be vegan. Like, there's a lot of physical limitations for people. I completely understand that. Like, you know, being vegan can be expensive, but I did it in such a way that wasn't as expensive because I just bought a lot of vegetables and like beans and rice and stuff, and not a lot of the vegan substitutes, you know? So, you know, yes, butter costs less than vegan butter. It's true. So I have to put that out there as well. Like, there's a lot of privilege that comes with being vegan. And so I kind of like rediscovered that moral side of it for me personally, and that's why I chose to be vegan again. It was mainly because I didn't feel right doing that to animals. Knowing what I was putting them through, supply and demand, I thought that, you know, I was doing my part to restrict or diminish the industries that were causing these harms to the planet, to animals, etc. And so this was like early beginning of 2019 when I began to be vegan again. And this is when I went to Bali to become a yoga instructor, and I was able to fully dive into my vegan diet there with all the vegan food. And I was vegan for a solid 2 years. And throughout this time, like, it started out once again great. I had so much energy. I felt good about what I was doing for animals and the impact I was having. Like I said, I'm not going to go in too deep on what I discovered about climate change or whatever from being vegan, but I felt good about that. But I also, like, you know, when people ask why I was vegan or whatever, I'd tell them my reasonings, but also want to reinforce the idea that I understand, like, everyone has a diet that's best for them. You have to listen to your body. Because no one likes a vegan who shoves it down their throat. No one. And I also understood from that point of view, like, as a vegan, like, if I tried to shove it down anyone's throat, they'd more likely run the opposite direction, and that's not gonna help anybody. But if you see a vegan who's like, oh, calm and chill about it, then you're probably gonna be more interested in hearing about it. So also that was my mindset, almost like reverse psychology, to be completely honest. Because on some deep level, I did think that it was best for everyone. Like, I did, because I thought it was best for animals and the environment. Like, I literally, when I say I thought this, like, I literally knew it to be true for myself. Like, that's how sure I was because of the information I was receiving. But I have to point out something key here, is that I didn't do any research on the opposite side of the spectrum. I was only hearing stories and perspectives from pro-vegans. Naturally, you're gonna get a biased view. But my brother's a doctor, and he would often, like, question, you know, where you're getting your nutrients. And I was like, oh, you know, I can get B12 from a tablet, which I take often, and, you know, also spirulina. And I get my protein from beans, oats, nuts, like peanut butter, like. So I swore that I did all the research to ensure I was getting the nutrients I needed. I want to point that out as well. Like, I bought books, I read articles. So I thought that I was doing it right. And slowly but surely, I didn't necessarily associate these things with my diet at all, but I was experiencing more depression, much higher levels of anxiety than I had ever experienced before. I was tired all the time, woke up feeling achy, like my bones, like it was like my muscles and bones would hurt. I would also feel indigestion and like extreme bloatedness. And it got to a point where I literally would eat like 2-3 bites of a meal, feel so full, and couldn't eat anymore. And I was like, what the, like I was kind of hungry, but also not, because like I couldn't fit anything else in my body. That's what it felt like. And I was like, this isn't right. But I kind of just slept it off, you know? This was around the 1.5 year mark of being vegan. And I just kind of attributed it to the current world that we were living in. You know, the pandemic was raging. I thought that was my cause for anxiety, depression, indigestion, stomach issues, bloating. Like, I just thought that all of that was because of everything happening in the world and stuff that I was going through personally. I had no idea to even consider the fact that it was my diet until it just got to a point where I was like, this is not me. Like, felt disconnected from everyone around me. If I'm being completely honest, I got angrier easily. Snappier, like I was just not myself. I was super irritable, tired, hurting. It was not fun at all. And this is when my curiosity started to peak, and I, for the first time, thought that I would research the other side of it. Ex-vegans. And this scared the hell out of me, mainly because I didn't want to know, because I was so convinced that this diet was what was best for my body. How could it not be if I'm getting all the nutrients that I need and ensuring that I do, especially taking supplements? That's what I thought. And also, like, I don't want to harm animals. Like, I care so much for animals and their right to have a life free from torture and captivity and disease and mistreatment and what they were going through because of the meat industry and the dairy industry. I've seen video footage, I saw what happened. That was happening because of choosing to eat meat and dairy. And I was like, I do not want to participate in that. And also the climate, due to the research I was starting to do, I started to understand that, oh, wait a minute. It's not as clear cut, not as black and white as those documentaries led me to believe. There are certain issues in the agricultural industry, such as almond milk and certain things. I didn't buy almond milk because I heard about this, but still, like, it's a little bit of a gray area. There's a lot of great videos on YouTube, by the way, that talk about the specifics and what they eat now. But like I said, if you'd like, just watch those videos. I'll link them down below, what and how they helped me. But what I gained from these videos is the realization that, oh my God, they're experiencing exactly what I've been experiencing. Extreme tiredness, bloating, indigestion, anxiety, depression, fatigue, irritability, not being able to consume food except for a couple bites and stuff like that. I was like, oh my God, like, that's exactly what's happening to me. Could it be because I'm vegan? Do I need some additional animal products in my diet for my health? Like, that thought blew my mind. I'm not gonna lie, because I didn't even question the fact that it was not completely 100% the best thing for me. And questioning it scared the fuck out of me, because I realized maybe I wasn't right to think that it was the best thing, you know? And I hated to think about this because I didn't want to participate in these industries and making it worse for the planet. But then I began to realize, do more research and understand, like, oh shit, being vegan isn't best for my health. I woke up the next morning, or after like a week of research, you know, because I really wanted to be sure. And I realized my body's craving an egg right now. Craving an egg. I woke up, went into the kitchen. I lived with my parents at the time. This was before I moved back to New York. And I went in the kitchen, got an egg, made it. And I cried while I made that egg. I'm not even joking with you. I cried because I thought I was turning my back on animals, on everything I believed in. It was hard for me to shift that belief. Like, I had to realize, like, I have to take care of myself. And as soon as I ate that egg, it was literally like I felt instantly like I had more energy, more life in me. Oh, it's hard to describe. Like, it was so instant. Like, I felt better, less anxious, just from eating one egg. And then I realized, okay, I have to take care of myself. I have to tend to my health first. And I made the decision to eat the majority of plant-based foods while incorporating occasional dairy products and also occasional fish. And I did so. And as I began to slowly reincorporate these things, I slowly gained my energy back. I felt so much more energetic. My muscles stopped hurting. I slept better. I had less anxiety, less depression, more clarity. I literally felt like I was reborn. And I'm not exaggerating right now. You can probably ask any of my family and friends during this time and see the complete difference. You can honestly probably tell. Like, I started to change. Like, my face started to change. It started to slim up, ironically. And my bone structure would come back. The color in my face came back. Look at some old videos of when I was vegan on YouTube if you'd like. Like, December of 2020 and before. You can definitely see it. And I just feel so much better. So it's been a year now that I've reincorporated some of these things back into my diet, and I rarely eat fish, and I've eat turkey or chicken occasionally as well, but that's like once a month, if that. And I still eat vegan foods a lot because I still want to minimize my negative impact as much as possible, because I still do believe in the principles of restricting these practices in the meat industry and also for the earth. I still believe in this stuff. I just had to take care of myself. Eating the majority of plant-based foods does make an impact. It doesn't have to be 100% to make an impact, is what I also realized. I cannot tell you, like, I completely feel like a different person in the best way. And I just had to realize, like, this is what's best for my body. And also what happened physically is that, ironically, like, you know how I mentioned when I first became vegan, I slimmed down a bit, like lost some of the extra weight that I'd had. Well, after being vegan for 2 years, like, my body, let me just say, wasn't optimal. Like, I was bloated all the time, first of all, and like, wasn't that toned. And of course you have to work out to be toned. And but I was still doing yoga, and I'd still do the same stuff that I did when I was vegan, but my body has that naturally more like toned, like slimmed down thing going on. And the only difference is diet, which is kind of weird because you'd think it would be the opposite, but I just feel stronger. I feel like I can actually do stuff. Like I used to get so exhausted from going out once during the day. So depleted. And now I can accomplish so much out and about, and it gives me energy instead of depletes me entirely. So I'm so glad that I listened to my intuition. Now what I do is I intuitively eat. If I feel a craving for something, then I'll eat it. And this is different, okay? I have to point this out. Like, it's a different kind of craving for like wanting something like a donut or something. Like, you feel it in your body if your body is like needing a certain nutrient. Like, I don't know if this is applicable to everyone, if you're able to intuitively sense this, but I believe everyone has the capability. You just gotta tune into it. But that's why I don't eat meat that often. And I also still drink oat milk, and use vegan butter and certain things, and try to minimize my dairy intake as much as possible, because I feel like that is what's healthiest for me. But what's not healthy for me, I realized, is not ever eating any dairy or not ever eating any meat or fish. That was really debilitating for my body and my mind and my emotions and my psyche and everything. So all of this said, it was an emotional journey. I went from thinking it was the only thing to do to being like, okay, maybe not the only thing, to back to being like, okay, it's the only thing, to being like, oh, it can't be because my body is dying right now, it feels like. I had to do what was best for my health, my physical health and my mental health. And I have come to the conclusion that for me, eating 70% to 80% plant-based foods with occasional meat, fish, dairy products is how I feel the healthiest in my body, in my soul, in my mind. And by eating a lot of the majority of plant-based foods, I'm still making a positive impact in these industries, which are quite despicable, to be honest, because that doesn't negate the fact that they are despicable. And when at all possible, I always buy like organic free-range eggs because the chickens have a much better life. And I, like I said, don't drink milk unless it's the only option, which it hardly ever is. But, you know, if it's like baked into something, as much as possible, I'd say 98% of the time, eat fish or meat that I know where it comes from and is treated ethically. So it was on my heart today to share this with you guys. If you are considering becoming vegan, hope this helped. If you are vegan and considering not being vegan anymore, I just want to let you know, like, I understand the struggle. Like, I literally was having a war inside myself making this decision. I thought I was turning my back on everything I believed in. It's a hard realization to have, to recognize that you're not doing what's best for you whenever you thought that you were for so long. Shifting your entire belief system is hard. It doesn't happen overnight. And I'm not saying you have to, but I'm just saying if you're feeling these symptoms as a result of being vegan, I strongly consider you to adopt a plant-based diet instead of vegan. And of course, like, eat whatever your body needs. Intuitively eating, I feel, is really the key here, at least for me. And I still do not buy non-vegan items. Like, I would never buy leather. It's pleather all the way. And I still buy makeup that is not tested on animals because it's important. Like, I care about animals. Like, not being vegan doesn't mean you don't care about animals, which I also thought was a myth before. I used to think, like, how could you care about animals if you eat them? Like, it's not that simple. It's not that simple. I used to think it was, but it's not that black and white. And, you know, non-vegans always used to tell me the thing of like, oh, but we've been eating meat for centuries. And my response to that was, well, yeah, that's where we've come from in the past. There's also certain things we do in the past that we didn't do now either because we've grown and learned and understand better. But like it or not, my body needs some additional sources of protein and amino acids that, yes, you can potentially get from plants. And I thought I was doing it completely right by getting all my nutrients and ensuring that I have a wide variety of plant-based foods. But still, even with all of that, it was deprecating to my health. And you have to treat your health as first priority, above all else. That's the thought I would like to leave you with today. With all this said, make your own decision. It's your life. Whatever makes you go to bed tonight soundly, do that. And your experience doesn't have to look like someone else's. And I hope that you don't beat yourself up for discovering new things and understand that it's okay. It's okay to change your mind, especially if changing your mind has a better effect on your entire well-being. Thank you so much for your presence today. I really hope this helps. Reach out to me at any time with, you know, your comments, your experiences, anything you'd like to share, put it in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys soon.